The Drake Kraken, exclamation point, is a big ship. It's a huge freaking ship. In fact, it's so big, I think this might be the longest development cycle we've been aware of for a Star Citizen ship so far. Probably not the longest there has been. I mean, the Javelin has been in it's on and off development for years now. But if we go back to the... Oh boy. You know what? Why don't we go to our ship tracking ship sheet? Let's find us the Drake Kraken. When did this thing start getting its updates? Well, my first update on it is what the actual hell? I do think I was kind of surprised when this got mentioned. So it must have, I guess the first update, I don't actually have it here. First mention was October of 2026. That doesn't make any sense. It had to have been before July of 2025. So I guess we just put that. In July of 2025, we saw that the Drake Kraken had further pre-production done. So it had already started by July of last year. Drake Ironclad entered pre-production in June of 2025. Let's mark that as the first time it was notified. So if it's going to release in May of 2027, right, which is Invictus Week of Defense Con of next year, then that's a whole 2-year production cycle. Just to give you an idea of how big that ship is. Something like the Raylan was in white box like 2 months ago, and it's supposed to release in June. So that's huge. It's not the Ironclad, it's the Kraken. I misspoke. So that's an idea of how long it's been in production. But how long has it actually been a ship that they've been talking about? That's been significantly longer. This trailer came out October of 2018. You guys remember what was going on in 2018? This. We didn't even have Hurston. There were no planets. Object container streaming was just getting added to the game. So at this point, it was probably around average of like, I'm not even exaggerating here, guys. You can ask the folks in chat. Anybody who's played the game long enough remembers this. The average frame rate at that time for most people was like anywhere from 8 to 18 frames per second. It was like if you got over 20 frames per second, you were getting pretty good performance, which was misery. So yeah, this was a long time ago. Hell, look at this. Look at this. VoIP. We were just getting the absolute most bare stuff back then. I don't even think you could buy ships. I'm pretty sure the ability to buy ships in-game didn't come for at least another year. Like, this was not a game in any way. I mean, some people still call it a tech demo. I certainly still find the game to be not quite game-flavored completely. But at this point, it was like the barest of bare tech demos was when the Kraken got announced. So it was kind of interesting to think about what this ship entailed at that time. You know, even now, if you ask somebody, well, what's the Kraken going to be used for? They could probably come up with all number of things that may or may not be in the game. At that time, it was like a whole storybook. Here's a trailer for it, though. It's a lot of world building, honestly, for this first part. They just kind of zoom across the star system, so I'll just get to the point where they're actually ships. Give you an idea of the flavor they're looking for with the Kraken.
You can stop right there. This claim is ours. I'll make this easy for you. Leave now, or we'll kill you. I'm happy either way.
The time has come for something new. Something to change the game. When seeking fortunes at the fringes of civilization.
I'm sorry, I just can't, but like something to change the game in 8 years.
You need someone you can trust. In this age of uncertainty, it's time to take back your strength. It's time to release the Kraken.
God, dude, that's probably the entire reason they named the ship that.
We got your back.
Why name it anything else when you can say release the Kraken in the trailer? They shouldn't have made any other ships after this. So that was the trailer for it. Obviously, it's supposed to be this kind of like the normal Drake flavor of like we stand up for the people. We've got your back, even if you're into some not so straightforward stuff, and we're gonna kill them. Yay! And it's a cool idea for a ship. It's a spacecraft carrier. It's like the Idris, but they put all the ships on the outside instead of the inside. I think that kind of reeks of the same problems as putting your cargo on the outside. If the Kraken ends up getting shot at, it's the ships on the outside that get damaged first once the shields go down. So we'll see how that goes. I think you could do a lot of damage to whoever is carrying all these ships in a surprise attack. And the strategy around this ship itself is going to be interesting. But the whole idea of it is an aircraft carrier, but in space. It's a spacecraft carrier. And if you go to the page, you'll see that there are actually two of them. Just like with the Ironclad, which I feel like maybe I've been seeing Ironclad this whole time. I genuinely don't. I get so confused between these two ships now. The Ironclad has its own combat version, as does this. Well, this isn't the combat version. This is called the Privateer. This is the more interesting Drake Kraken, in my opinion, because anybody who wants themselves a Banu merchantman, same thing. And anybody who wants to get involved in player trading or selling, the Banu merchantman and the Kraken Privateer are the two ways that's going to happen on spaceships. And I think it's probably one of the more challenging ways they'll have to make the gameplay happen. For that reason, I wouldn't expect the Privateer to be ready for the same level of gameplay as the regular Kraken when they release. But I would draw your attention to the Privateer because this, instead of just being a spacecraft carrier, is more of like a bazaar, like the merchantman. It comes with a public market featuring 8 separate shops, each with 189 SCU of secure storage for stock and consumables. Players and NPCs can buy goods here. So the idea there being, you park up out in space, you put out a beacon to say your shop is open, you have a specialty of things that you sell, you have vendors that you buy from, that you make deals with, and all of this is within your complete control. I mean, if you wanted to, you could say, hey, I only sell the nicest power plants you can find this side of Terra. And then everyone in the community knows that. They know you're Kraken, they know your name. You have to hire security because people try to troll you. But at the same time, all of the folks who are crafting really high-level power plants come to you to try and sell first. And then you are the place where everybody else knows they can come get it. I think that's a cool prospect. And I think that makes the Privateer a lot better of an option than the regular Kraken. It still has its internal hangars, but it also has that private market. It's got space to live, space to land. It's got bridge engineering, all the things you need, but it's like a Banu merchantman. So I think that's pretty cool. That being said, all of this was introduced in 2018. Who knows how this is going to change to accommodate the current game we have now, or what this is going to look like when it actually releases. That's kind of the problem with buying a concept ship from CIG. That being said, we got our first big update on the Kraken just this last week. So we're going to go through that here now. There's a long preamble to get to the actual point and see what's going on with the Kraken work in progress and what it's looking like we're going to be getting next year. Yeah, the Privateer was revealed during CitizenCon 2949. Okay. So the Privateer was thought up a little bit later than the original Kraken, huh? Or maybe it was thought up at the same time, they just introduced it a little bit later. What do they... Oh, they compare it to the Banu merchantman. They say the major advantage is the landing pad array that allows it to function completely independently. Yeah, I think that's the most interesting part too, is like if you have the Kraken Privateer out as your shop, you can still have people ferrying supplies back to your ship over and over. So you never have to actually go get more stuff to sell. And dude, I think that is the magic of what this game is supposed to be. Everyone is supposed to be able to go out into space and like figure out their business and make it work. You don't have to be locked into some meta. You don't have to do some specific missions. You don't have to go to some specific place. You can make the money you need and figure out the materials you want just by buying, selling, moving around, and supporting your playstyle. Money sinks and all that jazz. I love that, dude. I think this is like quintessential Star Citizen, but I also think the way that they've sold it is very quintessential Star Citizen. I wouldn't say it's a bait and switch. I saw somebody say that in the chat. I think that when they sell these ships, they are selling exactly what they want to do. And then when they set out to develop them, they go as far as they can to get close to it for it to make sense in the game. But unfortunately, when you're developing a video game over 8 years, I don't think there's a single game company out there whose video game doesn't change, and you just kind of got to change all these things to fit it as you go. Like, I'm betting Grand Theft Auto 6 does not look how it looked back in 2019. Anyways, let's talk about the ship. Vast, ferocious, and unmistakably Drake. The Kraken was announced to staggering citizens in early October. Staggered. I already messed up. God, we'll keep going. While news of any capital ship causes a stir, one built by the divisive pirate's choice of shipbuilder was even more so. It looked wild, like a gritty sci-fi aircraft carrier, and had the potential to stand tall against the more established frigates and gunships from military contractors like Anvil and Aegis. While excitement was high, ships of this scale and complexity take significant time to develop, and the Kraken was unveiled as a concept to allow the ship's team to fit development in around the wealth of smaller vehicles in the pipeline. The development of the Drake Magnum Opus has ramped up over the past few months, as regular readers of the PU Monthly Report might have noticed. To keep everyone up to speed, we've trawled back through the past few months of updates to show you where the Kraken is, what's changed since the concept, and generally just showcase the impressive work going towards this game-changing carrier. Let's on crack. Or end crack, I guess. The first change was to the overall shape dimensions of the Kraken, reducing its length from 270 to 260 meters and its height from 64 to 60. Although minor in numbers, this rework removes a few areas of dead space within the ship, ensuring the interior is easier and more intuitive to traverse. I believe we saw this actually being mentioned here. Pre-production continued last August, entering White Box in September, continued through White Box with the goal of setting White Box review in February, so they took some time there. Finally, when it was continuing through the White Box with the first of its gate reviews, it had rescheduled its review to early March after further concept time resolved areas that didn't hit current standards. The team also reviewed traversal throughout the ship. Following this, they removed and reduced the scale of some rooms that offered no benefit to players, without compromising the scale of the interior hero rooms, like engineering. The ship remains on track for its planned release next year. Okay, so they were doing quite a bit of work of figuring out scaling down some of the rooms, or rather, reducing some of the room scale and some of that interior area. They also concentrated their efforts on the main hero rooms such as engineering, core traversal, and routes through the ship, implementing new bespoke manned turrets and weapons. All of this happened in the last 4 months. You can see these new bespoke weapons here. Dude, they look pretty freaking sick. They have a very industrial look to them. Like this looks like a weapon that's made of a whole bunch of different parts, right? Instead of just, I know every weapon is, but this looks like a cannon that takes years to make, which I think is pretty cool. We got a reduced length and a reduced height because they did scale down some of those rooms, but they did make sure to mention that they were keeping specifically the engineering room, making it still feel the same. Actually, it looks really sick. This is lovely because it was like 2 or 3 days ago, I was watching The Expanse, and spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched or read up until book or season 3, they take over the behemoth, right? And they have to go down into the fusion reactor room. And the way they enter the room, and it's just a whole room, and you're like, that's just really cool that there's like a team in a room working on this stuff. I know we get that in like the Javelin. The Javelin and the Idris kind of has that. Yeah, the Idris has that too. But I love the circular design here. The like centralized way that they did this one. They also say the turrets received a design pass to elevate them to a key element of the ship. This approach has a common key component of the reconcepting work, with the team returning to various hero rooms and features also seen here in the gravity room. I'm sorry, this is the gravity room. Right, of course. It looks more like the Reclaimer's gravity room than anything else. Yes, we also have a circular power room in the Reclaimer, but that's weird to get to. Choritos. These are freaking hefty, man. One of the things that's interesting about Star Citizen ships is that they are made to actually be used. A lot of fictions make spaceships and you don't really have to worry about, can bodies actually fit into these spaces, walk through these doors? Is there enough space in this room for an actual sleeping space? Or do we just say there's a sleeping space behind that wall and only let people see the cockpit of the ship? But a Star Citizen ship has to literally, I say make sense all the way through. They're a little loose with that, you know? But for the most part, they have to at least logically work. Dude, what the hell is this? Is this a turret seat? Further detail was added to the cockpit with the captain, pilot, and co-pilot stations each receiving detailed concept work. Note that large radar in front of the pilot and unique aeronautical style controls. This is a freaking pilot seat? Brother, that is so cool. They got full on nerdy with this one, huh? This guy looks like he is in like the mission control seat in the company from Control. What is that company? The Bureau of Control. I don't know. This is so cool. It actually kind of reminds me of those seats in Andor. Cubicles? I don't even know what to call it. But like the seats, this part. Star Wars version of the office cubicle. Reminds me of that. You just enclosed. When I say logical, I mean like you have to move around it. I don't mean every little bit is logical. Again, they are loose with it. I just want to be clear. I mean that you have to be able to move around the ship. I don't mean that it is the perfectly designed piece of clarity. This is... What is even going on here, man? Could you imagine putting this much effort into, I guess it's a whole spaceship. I'm just thinking, in a real reality like this, you would only fly one spaceship, right? In Star Citizen, in this kind of a market, you can just fly this all the time and then go learn how to do the same thing with another big spaceship. What are these controls? Is it a stethoscope? Or not a stethoscope, the stereoscope? What's the one that goes up over the water? Looks like a freaking periscope thing. He's just gonna look through it and then it's gonna show him a view out the front of the ship. Sir, we have windows. All right. Following the concept rework, White Box work added significant detailing around the ship, including armor layers, the huge rear thruster layout, and various sections of the hull. Here, the sheer scale of the Kraken is apparent, with the White Box appearing far more complex than other ships at this stage due to its size. Although just a teaser of its ongoing development, it's clear that the Kraken is shaping up to be a truly special addition to the verse. We'll keep you updated as progress continues. All right, so there's not too much to this update. It's just a little look at the White Box, and those thrusters are fat, bro. These thrusters are, I mean, they did the same thing with the Ironclad, but this ship is bigger, much bigger than the Ironclad. This is gonna be probably one of the more impressive ships in the entire game, bar none. Like, even as we get further and further into Star Citizen's development, I might be wrong about this. They might transition back into building out really big ships, but I do think that they're kind of moving away from truly large ships in this game, capital class ships. I think most people are going to be flying ships anywhere from 20 to 70 meters. And ships like this are going to be pretty few and far between once the actual consequences of trying to run one of these things is starting to become more clear. So this could still end up being one of the more impressive ships in the game to come across forever. 160 meters in length is not gigantic, but it's still a hefty boy. And it does something really, really interesting, which is transporting other spaceships, which means anytime you see this, you kind of expect a lot of power projection, a lot of capability, a lot more than the ship that you're actually seeing. It's also freaking huge, dude. Look at the... I keep saying it's not a gigantic ship, but look at the size of the person here. It's massive. It's a difference between 160 and 200 meters when you're standing next to it. So yeah. So a little look at the Kraken for you. Mostly what we know about it. And it's variant, but I will say this. I don't know what the heck they're going to do with the privateer. Like I said, it is built off of, just like this, a different kind of game. It is envisioned that NPCs will make up 90% of the universe. That's a big one. That's a big detail that they haven't even uttered. I think this is the last time maybe they referenced it. And they don't talk about Star Sim, so we don't know if it still includes this kind of idea. But they go on to say they'll be able to land and traverse locations with various routines and will be providing the backbone of the wider economy. To say that kind of thing by 2019 is... They already knew how complex the game was going to be. But yeah, this is an interesting point because they don't talk about Star Sim. Even though the game was just as complex back then, because they don't talk about this as much, I know we should assume it, right? It's not like they said it's going to be different. But they've definitely said that we're going to be more player-oriented than I think they were letting on back then. So, I don't know how much that would affect the ship itself or your want or need to buy it, but it's clear that some of the design elements around this ship are going to change just because the ship has as well. When the owner logs off, will the Kraken remain online? How will other people take advantage of purchasing, selling, renting, or landing on the ship? When the owners aren't online, they say the ship will follow the same rules as others for remaining online. If players are on or nearby, it won't be removed from play until various conditions are satisfied. Will this kit be available to earn in-game? The privateer isn't just a kit, but an entire hull variant. Like all variants, we plan to make something obtainable in-game with the exception of a few limited edition ships and variants. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's probably something that they'll have to specify as the ship gets closer to coming out, how it's going to work. We'll see how the ship goes overall. There's a huge presentation on it here. They talk about several different ships. So you can go and find this as well. This is CitizenCon 2949, and I'm sure there's some info there. But yeah, that's a little big look into the Kraken and what we know so far. Cheerio.